with the black outline around it. It's a solid piece of foam core. And Suzanne wants to pull postcard-sized pieces of paper. So she uses this as a shaped deckle. She can dip into the vat, and every time she pulls one sheet, one dip, she can make 2 postcards. And that's a way of, you can all make deckles that, this is actually called 2-up in hand paper making tradition. They would often divide the deckles so that they could, with one dip, make as many sheets of paper as the size of the mold would allow. So that would be considered a 2-up. If it were divided to get 3 pieces of paper out of it, it would be 3-up and vice versa. And we do that with banknotes frequently. So anyway, you want to leave like a good 3/4 to 1 inch strip down the center, and you want to keep everything kind of centered and away from the outside edges. That's foam core. One of the projects I recently did.
Winnie, question about foam core. Would gator board be better? That's that corrugated plastic board?
Doesn't warp, right?
I don't know if it would
What about
work
the
or not. It
corrugated
shouldn't.
part of it? Can you cut any degree of, like if you cut your thing into the corrugated, have you made some edges that are going to catch the pulp?
It
I
might,
would
but I
think
don't
that
mind
would
if
be-
I get regular edges to this.
Which may end up with buildup of pulp on the interior.
Oh,
Yeah, you will.
I see.
You will. Now,
But
if
if
you
I
want to
take those
counteract
edges
that,
off.
you can take them.
I'll see what I
You can
find
take
that this
them.
applies to.
Right. But, foam core's easy. And it does dry off. Now, people who want to use it for a high production job will often just, you're not, but they'll often coat it with like a polyurethane, not
Oh, okay.
polyurethane, but matte medium,
Uh-huh.
which also softens after a while.
Which I also have.
But the foam core has a paper surface on both
Yeah.
sides of it. There is actually a foam core with foam on the outside of it, with a heavy plastic on the outside of it. Boy, does it ever dull an X-Acto knife, but it makes a good stencil. The other thing that I often use is I take the anti-fatigue matting
Oh.
and I cut that and make shaped deckles.
What
And I've
about
made
that-
them all different shapes.
What about that foam that kids use for crafts?
I've used that as well, fun
It's
foam.
very thin.
It comes different weights. It comes
It does?
1/4 inch thick.
Okay.
It comes 1/4 inch thick. So fun foam will make you stencils. I do it all the time for my kids' projects.
Okay.
So the other thing about the foam core, and I did this with a recent camp project, is I cut, I'm not going to explain the whole project, but I cut out 70 abstract open fish shapes out of this foam core, and I had the kids all pull sheets of paper and wrap around the outsides and cover the styrofoam foam core fish with the paper. And the
Oh.
paper pulp stuck to the paper surface of the foam core well enough. It worked.
Oh, cool.
So, and then they enhanced that. So, okay, so that was to finish that thought. So we're gonna have like a little demo, and if you have it all cut, we have a little demo in that. If the corn isn't rinsed, that can happen sometime today, and that can go into a little cup and be ready to stick in the blender and enhance these vats. These, as I say, the water level definitely needs to come up on both of those a little bit, but this one, and then also know how to recharge. Does everybody seem to have a feeling of when to recharge a vat with pulp? Are you feeling comfortable about that? I mean, sometimes you want a really thin sheet, but sometimes you don't. I don't particularly, I'd rather have not a real thick sheet, but I'd rather have 3 or 4 medium layers around the perlite than one really thick layer. I'd rather have 3 layers that blend together nicely than one really thick piece of paper that wraps around them. But I don't want 10 really thin layers. So you kind of have to find what works for you, and sometimes you find it by trial and error. Again, this is going to have to set up for a little while. Okay, now that Jackie just picked up. Jackie just picked up